Danger, danger, danger. The New York Times and the anti-gun movement is laser focused in trying to take full advantage of the assassination of the CEO of United Healthcare on the streets of gun control Manhattan in front of the New York Hilton, which is actually the location where I was at in 2016 for President Trump's election night victory. The center, the heart of Manhattan. The anti-gunners fully intend to take advantage of this by arguing that suppressors are dangerous. I'm warning you here and right now so we can nip this in the bud. Let's talk about all this when we get right back. Hey folks, I'm Mark Smith, host of the Four Boxes Diner, proud American gun owner, constitutional attorney, member of the United States Supreme Court Bar, and I'm proud to say a nominee for the 2025 Gundies Award in the category of Top Voices of the 2A of the Second Amendment. Always a pleasure and proud to be associated with the people with the Gundies, and the other nominees do great work out there in spreading the word about the Second Amendment, the importance of firearms in our constitutional scheme of government. If you're going to vote for the Gundies, I think you could do it every day between now and the end of the month. Make sure you vote for the Four Boxes Diner and the Top Voices of 2A. All right, folks, so this is important. You know, I'm not Mr. Hyperbole. So if I tell you something is important and something is time sensitive and you need to take this seriously and you got to laser focus on something, then I think you should do that. Okay? Because I'm not one to be hyperbolic about, somebody's passing some law somewhere that's never going to go anywhere. No. If I say there's a problem, you got to watch out. There's a problem. The reason why I mentioned this in this context is this assassination attempt caught on video in Midtown Manhattan, the heart of New York City, in front of the New York Hilton, a place I've been to many, many times, of the CEO of United Healthcare, an insurance company, really does illustrate the point that gun control Manhattan is not safe and that police are never there when you need them. But that's not what this video is about today. I am flagging for you right here and right now the start of an effort by the anti-gun movement in America to thwart any of the gains that we've made and should make with the incoming Trump administration on the issue of suppressors being a hearing protection device. Why do I say this? Well, obviously, if you've seen the video of the assassination, you see the killer coming up behind the CEO, lifting his firearm and shooting him in the back and then getting off another round or two. It's hard to tell. I'm sure the police will know soon enough. But when that gun is held up, it looks as if there's something on the end of that barrel. Many people are speculating it's some form of suppressor. I don't think we know for a fact, but that's the way it appears to be. But whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter because the anti-gun movement is always ready with their legacy media handmaidens, like the New York Times, to try to do the work of the anti-gun movement to take away our freedoms, all because some nutjob psychopath abuses the laws, ignores the laws, and violates the most fundamental laws of humankind, human nature, by committing, for example, murder, which is what happened here. So this morning, and this is what I'm flagging for you, the start of this anti-suppressor movement by the anti-gunners has begun. The opening salvo here has been brought about by the New York Times that wrote an article entitled Manhattan Shooter Used Silencer. Hear what I just said? Not suppressor. The New York Times says the Manhattan shooter used a silencer, and there are nearly 5 million registered in the United States. And again, in fairness to the New York Times, they do make reference that a silencer is the sort of thing that is commonly seen as, in Hollywood among spy movies and all that good stuff, but is rarely seen in murders, which is true. We rarely see suppressors, silencers used in crimes. That's very rare. In fact, Eric Adams, when interviewed, the mayor of New York, said that in his career in the NYPD, he never saw a silencer used in a crime of any sort. Nevertheless, the anti-gunners fully intend to take advantage of this, not to talk about the obvious problem, which is that when seconds count, police are minutes away, and the only thing that ultimately we can expect from police is they're going to show up after we're dead, to draw a chalk line around our bodies. And maybe if we're lucky, they'll track down the killer. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. We don't know. They still haven't tracked him down yet, right? So that's all what is the real lesson here, that no matter how many gun control laws you pass, as 18th century Italian criminologist Cesare Beccaria teaches, gun laws only detract and prevent the law-abiding from being able to defend themselves. Gun laws bear no merit or have no impact on the minds of criminal killers because they're willing to commit the most heinous crimes in our society. What do they care about some BS gun law? And that illustrates the point of this shooting in Midtown Manhattan. But I want to talk about the suppressors specifically in this video because this is where we have to laser focus and we have to rally around, in my opinion, that suppressors are important, they're safe, they don't contribute to crimes, and this is not a basis for doing what the anti-gunners want, which is to make all aspects of firearm ownership, including suppressors, hard to participate in. So we all know that right now, right here and right now, suppressors are lawful in 42 of America, 42 states in the United States. 42. The 8 anti-gun states, the usual suspects, ban suppressors, but you would expect that. And suppressors, as this New York Times article indicates, are almost never used in crimes. That's what the purpose of the article was. They're rarely seen in crimes outside of Hollywood movies specifically. In fact, I believe in many instances in Europe, they're required because they're considered rude if you don't have a suppressor or silencer, they're suppressors really, on your gun. But beyond that, the reality is this. Suppressors do not make a gunshot silent. They do protect the hearing of the shooter, but they don't make the gun noiseless. It's still extremely loud. And that's key. This is the most important point as I see it. The word is not to be, we should not be using the word silencer, although we sometimes use it interchangeably with suppressor. We should be talking about suppressors because suppressors suppress the noise, they don't silence it. Much different than what we see in movies. And the assassination of the CEO of United Healthcare proves the point that if you're a criminal, it doesn't matter what the laws are associated with suppressors or silencers. It doesn't matter. You're going to violate that law anyway. But of course, we know that the anti-gunners want to tie this into, for example, mass shootings. And this goes back to that New York Times article, where, of course, they basically are saying that the growing popularity of suppressors has increased concern, here what I just said, concern among the typical anti-gunners, that this will somehow make it easier to engage in a mass shooting, which is, of course, is absurd. Because the reality is that that gunshot in front of the New York Hilton undeniably made noise and would have been extremely loud. It may have made less noise, but it was still going to make noise. Moreover, let's think about this from a common sense point of view. The assassin literally shot this guy in the middle of Manhattan at the start of rush hour in front of cameras everywhere. Who cares if the gun made noise or not? The dude is literally in the center of Manhattan. It is so much in the center of the Manhattan, the business district, that literally that is where President Trump, on election night 2016, held his election night party, celebration, if you will. I was there, of course. That is literally where it was. It is this heart of Manhattan's business district in Midtown Manhattan. So if somebody's willing to smoke, assassinate, kill, right there in front of the world, on the streets of Manhattan, full of cameras, with police theoretically everywhere. Of course, there was no police around. They were around, sort of, but not really, not enough to stop it. They couldn't even catch this guy. Not yet, at least. Then who cares whether or not this gun made a lot of noise or not, even though it undeniably did? Because maybe if the guy used subsonic ammunition, right, below the speed of sound, maybe it would have been a less loud, but it still would have been super loud, and you know this. So again, there's a lot of lessons here, and I think we must always remember, and maybe you should put links to these down below, 2 critical recommendations, one from NIOSH, that says that if feasible and legally permissible, attaching noise suppressors to firearms reduces peak sound pressure levels, which is helpful to protecting Americans and, protecting ears, right? Because keep in mind that the last thing you want to do is expose your ears to loud noises, because not only could you go deaf, which is bad enough, but even worse, you could get tinnitus, which I've never had, thank God. But anybody who's familiar with tinnitus, it's a constant ringing in the ear. It never ends. In fact, tinnitus is such a terrible disease that you can get from loud noises and ringing in the ear, and you can get it in other ways, of course. But you can certainly get it from firing guns near you. It's terrible tinnitus. Tinnitus is so dangerous that some people have chosen to no longer live rather than continue to suffer through tinnitus. That's how terrible the disease is. And just last week, we covered one of the largest organizations representing specialists who treat ears, noses, throats, and the like associated with neck and head. They literally recommended and endorsed the use of firearm suppressors as an effective method of reducing the risk of hearing loss, especially when used in conjunction with conventional hearing protective measures. But again, we've talked about the importance of these suppressors, especially if you're at home at night and you have to defend your family. You want to suppress the sound as much as you reasonably can, because after you touch off that first round, you don't want to go deaf, because then you can't hear. If there's multiple bad guys, it'll make it harder for you to sense what's going on to protect you and your family. And of course, you want to suppress the sound to some degree so it doesn't hurt the eardrums of your family members. So all of this is reasons why you really want suppressors on your firearm as a general matter. Now, as you know, in addition to the 8 states that ban these suppressors, the suppressors are technically considered NFA arms. They're NFA items, NFA firearms, which means that the only way you can possess one in the United States is you have to get it registered and submit fingerprints and all this stuff with the ATF. And this clearly is hooey under the National Firearms Act, because we've talked about both why I think that the registration of these suppressors is probably unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. And certainly the banning of them is unconstitutional under the Second Amendment under the uncommon use test. But again, for the purposes of today, I want to flag the Second Amendment movement right here and right now, that they are going to do whatever they can to try to push back hard and connect suppressors up with crimes. They're going to connect suppressors up with being silencers as opposed to just suppressors. And they're going to connect suppressors up with mass shootings. You watch. So you got to be on alert. I'm not going to tell you all what to do. You're all smarter than I am on a lot of this stuff. So I'm just telling you, you got to laser focus, because when the New York Times writes this article about using silencers, that is a sign, that is a signal where the anti-gun movement in America is going to go. And as you know, I wrote the definitive book on this. And when I wrote First They Came for the Gun Owners, laying out the details of the anti-gun strategy several years ago. So I'm quite familiar with the anti-gun strategies. In fact, some of the lawyers over there I've actually worked with many years ago in commercial litigation world, but that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is, I know how these people think, and they're going to take advantage of this if they can. And it's your job and my job to fight back and protect our Second Amendment rights, including the right to suppress sound, so that we don't blow out our eardrums because we enjoy shooting or have to shoot in conjunction with a self-defense incident. So there you have it, folks. I'll put links to these articles down below. Make sure you follow me on X at 4boxofdarn. We have over 20,000 followers over there. Make sure you subscribe to this video. Make sure you vote for the 4boxofdarn in the Gundy Awards. I'll link to that down below as well. And I look forward to talking to you all very, very soon here at the 4 Boxes Diner.
Orders up. Table 2A.